What if someone close to Michael Jackson finally confirmed everything fans have been whispering about for years? What if an insider, someone who knew Michael beyond the media's lens, came forward to share stories that would either affirm or shatter the beliefs the world holds about the King of Pop? Actor Carl Payne, famously known for his role in Martin, recently opened up about his encounters with Michael Jackson and his invite to the Neverland Ranch, and his insights might just change, challenge, or even confirm everything we thought we knew about Michael Jackson. Carl Payne's perspective is one the public has never heard before. While most people only saw Michael through the lens of media and performances, Payne knew him personally. Having shared moments away from the spotlight, he got glimpses of Michael that fans only dreamed about. To Payne, Michael wasn't just a superstar or an untouchable legend, he was a real person, complex and sometimes conflicted, grappling with the same struggles and fears that anyone would face, albeit under unimaginable pressure. Now Payne is ready to share what he saw and experienced, offering a look into Michael's life that may confirm fans' deepest suspicions or reveal an entirely new side to the man who captivated the world. So what exactly does Carl Payne have to say? According to him, Michael was more layered than most could imagine. Payne hints at a man behind the myth, someone whose carefully crafted public image often shielded a more vulnerable and introspective person. Payne's revelations touch on Michael's unique personality, his complicated relationship with fame, and the side of him that was rarely, if ever, seen by the world. And as Payne begins to reveal the truth, he raises questions about how much of what we believed about Michael was real, and how much was the result of a brilliant performance that went far beyond the stage. Could it be that the mysteries surrounding Jackson are deeper than anyone ever imagined, or is it possible that despite the rumors and scandals, the real Michael Jackson was everything his fans hoped he would be? Carl Payne's stories might just provide the clarity fans have been seeking for years, peeling back the layers of speculation to reveal the man underneath the iconic persona. Get ready, because what Payne shares will either confirm what we thought all along, or completely rewrite the story of Michael Jackson. Carl Payne and Michael Jackson's paths crossed in ways that most fans would never have guessed. While they were from different corners of the entertainment world, Payne rising to fame as a comedic actor on Martin and Jackson ruling the music industry, they shared connections that brought them together on several occasions. Through these interactions, Payne witnessed a side of Michael that most people never saw. To Payne, Michael wasn't just a musical icon, he was a complex individual navigating a world that few could understand. Their connection began during events and industry gatherings, where Payne noticed that Michael was always surrounded by an air of mystery, a man who seemed both present and somehow distant at the same time. Unlike most stars, Michael moved through spaces with an unusual quietness, observing more than participating, watching rather than engaging. Payne recalls moments when Michael seemed to disappear into his thoughts, as if he was grappling with something beyond the room they were in. In these moments, Payne saw a vulnerability that was entirely at odds with Michael's larger-than-life stage persona, but their interactions weren't just distant observations. Payne had the chance to engage with Michael directly, to speak with him and understand some of his inner workings. Payne recalls conversations where Michael revealed a deeply thoughtful side, someone who was introspective and acutely aware of the weight his fame carried. Unlike the image projected in his music videos and concerts, the real Michael was quiet, almost reserved, a man who chose his words carefully and listened more than he spoke. It was this contrast that intrigued Payne and led him to believe that there was so much more to Michael than the world knew. Their connection may have seemed unlikely, but Payne's encounters with Michael left a lasting impression. These weren't just casual conversations or fleeting moments. They were glimpses into the life of a man whose reality was worlds away from his public image. Payne hints that these interactions allowed him to see the real Michael, the man behind the fame, and what he observed would reveal insights that challenge everything we thought we knew about Jackson. And as Payne hints at these revelations, he suggests that Michael's life was far more complex and profound than anyone outside his circle could have imagined. What Carl Payne experienced with Michael Jackson was more than just a chance encounter. It was an eye-opening journey into the life of an enigmatic man whose true self remained hidden from nearly everyone, a side that Payne is now ready to share with the world. Through Carl Payne's eyes, Michael Jackson's carefully crafted public image begins to look like just the surface of a much deeper and more complex personality. As Payne recalls, there was always an air of mystery surrounding Michael, a deliberate shield that kept the public at arm's length. Michael's persona was mesmerizing, but Payne sensed that the King of Pop was constantly walking a fine line between the image he projected and the person he was behind closed doors. Payne's interactions with Michael exposed him to a man who was often misunderstood, stood, a man whose true self was far more nuanced than what the media allowed us to see. Payne describes a Michael Jackson who was worlds apart from his onstage persona. While Michael dazzled millions with high-energy performances and groundbreaking music videos, Payne saw a side of him that was thoughtful, introverted, and profoundly aware of the expectations surrounding him. Away from the cameras, Michael was quiet, contemplative, even shy. According to Payne, Michael was a man deeply in tune with his surroundings, yet wary of letting anyone get too close. It was as though Michael carried a part of his persona with him at all times, but behind it was a vulnerability that Payne couldn't ignore. What truly struck Payne was the stark difference between the king of pop and the man he observed in private moments. Michael's offstage self was a contradiction to his stage presence, someone whose introspective nature seemed almost at odds with the iconic superstar who commanded the world's attention. Payne recalls moments where Michael would withdraw, as if lost in his own world, contemplating things that only he seemed to understand. This wasn't a man driven by fame alone. There was a layer of complexity and introspection that Payne saw only in those brief, candid encounters. And yet it was clear to Payne that this duality, the public persona versus the private man, took a toll on Michael. He sensed that Michael struggled with the boundaries between who he was and who the world expected him to be. Payne remembers moments where Michael seemed weighed down, as if the role of Michael Jackson was both a blessing and a burden. This was the Michael that few knew, a man who carried the expectations of millions, yet perhaps yearned for a simplicity that fame denied him. Payne's insights offer a rare glimpse into the man behind the legend. For years, fans have speculated about Michael's true nature, but Payne's observations reveal a side that goes beyond the headlines and rumors. In Payne's view, Michael wasn't just an icon. He was a man striving to navigate an impossible world, one where his true self remained hidden even as he stood in the spotlight. And as Payne recounts these moments, he hints that the real Michael Jackson was someone far different, someone who defied easy explanations and left an indelible mark on those who glimpsed his inner world. One of the things that struck Carl Payne the most was the immense pressure Michael Jackson faced every single day. From the outside, Michael's life looked like a dream. International fame, sold-out tours, and a dedicated fan base that adored him. But Payne quickly learned that the reality was far from glamorous. Behind the scenes, Michael was carrying a weight that few could understand, the kind of pressure that could wear down even the strongest personalities. For Michael, fame was both a gift and a curse, a force that propelled him to the highest highs but came with a relentless demand for perfection. Payne recalls seeing firsthand how this pressure affected Michael's mental and emotional state. Michael wasn't just trying to meet his fans' expectations, he was constantly battling the pressure to reinvent himself, to stay relevant, and to live up to an image that was almost larger than life. Payne describes moments when Michael seemed visibly tired, not just from the physical demands of performing, but from the emotional toll of being Michael Jackson every waking hour. The public saw the polished, perfected image, but Payne saw glimpses of the exhaustion that came with it, a side of Michael that seemed almost desperate for a moment of peace. Payne believes that this pressure was intensified by the relentless media attention that followed Michael everywhere he went. The tabloids seemed obsessed with him, dissecting every move, every change in appearance, every relationship. It was as if Michael was never truly allowed to be himself. He was forever under the microscope. Payne hints that Michael became increasingly isolated, a prisoner of his own fame, unable to trust even those around him for fear they would exploit his vulnerabilities. It was a reality that Payne could hardly imagine, yet he saw the toll it took on his friend. What's more, Payne observed how Michael dealt with this pressure, not through outbursts or anger, but through retreat. When things became too overwhelming, Michael would withdraw, seeking solitude as a way to protect himself from the demands of the world around him. This was something Payne could relate to, but he could also see the sadness in it. Here was a man who had achieved what most could only dream of, yet who seemed unable to find comfort in his success. The very fame that had brought him to the top was also the thing that kept him trapped. For Payne, watching Michael struggle with the demands of fame was both heartbreaking and eye-opening. It confirmed to him what fans have often wondered: was the real Michael Jackson lost somewhere behind the mask, hidden beneath the persona he'd created? In Payne's view, Michael's life was a constant balancing act, trying to meet the expectations of the world while holding on to some semblance of his true self. And as he shares these insights, Payne leaves us with a haunting image. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, a man at the pinnacle of fame, yet carrying a burden so heavy that few could ever truly understand. Carl Payne couldn't ignore the rumors and controversies that constantly swirled around Michael Jackson. They were nearly inescapable. Tabloid headlines, shocking allegations, endless speculation. To the public, Michael was an enigma, often cast as a mystery to be unraveled. But for Payne, many of these rumors seemed more like misunderstandings fueled by a media machine eager to exploit Michael's fame and eccentricities. Payne witnessed firsthand how the relentless scrutiny impacted Michael, and he began to see a pattern. Many of the accusations and stories didn't align with the person he'd come to know. Payne recalls conversations where Michael expressed frustration, even hurt, over the way the media twisted his every action, turning him into a caricature for the sake of sensationalism. According to Payne, Michael felt trapped by the public's perception of him, unable to shake the labels and narratives that others had imposed. Payne hints that Michael was often misunderstood, that his eccentricities were misinterpreted as something darker or more questionable than they really were. He suggests that Michael's childlike nature, his love of innocence and creativity, was at odds with a world that often looks for scandal over sincerity. But Payne also acknowledges that some of the controversies struck closer to home for Michael than others. There were certain accusations that weighed heavily on him, leaving him deeply shaken. In private, Michael confided in Payne about the toll these stories took on his spirit, how they made him question the very people he once trusted. Payne hints that these accusations chipped away at Michael's sense of security, leaving him increasingly isolated and wary of those around him. It was as if Michael lived in constant fear of being misunderstood, of being seen through a lens that distorted his true intentions. Still, Payne believes there was a part of Michael that hoped people would see past the headlines, that fans would remember the heart behind the legend. In moments of vulnerability, Michael would express his desire for people to understand his true self, a self that Payne felt was gentle, kind, and deeply empathetic. Payne suggests that if people knew the real Michael, many of the rumors would dissolve into the smoke and mirrors of media manipulation. Payne's perspective on these controversies paints a picture of a man who, despite his fame, never fully escaped the shadow of public scrutiny. Michael's life became a series of attempts to prove himself, to show the world that he was more than the scandals and rumors. And as Payne shares these insights, he reveals a truth that many fans have suspected. Michael Jackson was a man burdened by a legacy of misunderstandings, a man whose greatest wish was to be seen for who he really was. In addition to the controversies and challenges he faced, Michael Jackson's relationships with other celebrities provided a unique insight into his life, and Carl Payne saw these dynamics unfold firsthand. Michael's world was filled with high-profile friendships, but according to Payne, these relationships were often more complicated than they appeared. Jackson was surrounded by people who were either drawn to his fame or wanted to be part of his inner circle, yet he seemed constantly aware that trust was a rare commodity. As Payne recalls, Michael's interactions with other stars reflected both his need for connection and his deep-seated caution. Payne describes how, despite his immense fame, Michael yearned for genuine friendships, people who would see him for the person he was rather than the icon he had become. Celebrities would flock to him, eager for the chance to associate with a legend, but Michael often kept his guard up. Payne hints that this was partly because Michael had been let down before by people he thought were friends. He learned early on that fame often attracted people with their own agendas, and he became increasingly wary of letting others too close. Yet, Michael's friendships with a select few celebrities were real and meaningful. Payne recalls how Michael's connection with people like Elizabeth Taylor and Stevie Wonder provided him with a sense of comfort and camaraderie. These were individuals who understood the pressures of fame, who had lived through their own struggles and didn't need anything from Michael except his friendship. Payne says that in these relationships, Michael found a rare kind of solace, a chance to be himself without the demands and expectations of the public. Still, even within these genuine friendships, there was always a sense of distance. Payne sensed that Michael struggled to fully open up, as if he feared that showing too much of himself would lead to heartbreak or betrayal. He would share parts of his life, but he rarely allowed anyone to see everything. This constant caution took its toll, leaving Michael feeling isolated even when he was surrounded by people who cared for him. According to Payne, it was as though Michael was living in two worlds, one where he was the king of pop, adored by millions, and another where he was a guarded soul, fearful of being hurt by those closest to him. Payne's observations reveal a man man who, despite his fame and influence, was often lonely, longing for connection but deeply afraid of betrayal. Michael's celebrity friendships offered moments of relief, but they were never quite enough to dissolve the barriers he'd built around himself. For Payne, watching Michael navigate these relationships was both inspiring and heartbreaking, as it confirmed what he had come to realize about Jackson. Behind the fame and friendships, Michael was a man searching for trust in a world that made it nearly impossible to find. For Carl Payne, one of the most profound realizations about Michael Jackson was his deep humanity, a side that often went unnoticed beneath the glittering persona of the King of Pop. Despite his global fame and the mythic status he held in people's minds, Michael was, at his core, a compassionate and empathetic person who cared deeply about others. Payne recalls moments that revealed Michael's generosity and kindness, small gestures that showed how much he genuinely wanted to make a difference in people's lives. Payne describes how Michael would often go out of his way to help those around him, whether it was through grand acts of philanthropy or quiet, personal kindnesses. Michael wasn't someone who simply signed checks for charity. He was actively engaged in causes he believed in. Payne remembers that Michael's dedication to children's welfare, humanitarian efforts, and environmental issues wasn't just for show. It was a reflection of his personal values and a genuine desire to make the world a better place. In private, Michael would often speak about his concerns for the world's most vulnerable, discussing ways he hoped to leave a positive legacy beyond his music. But what touched Payne the most were Michael's acts of kindness toward the people in his immediate circle. Payne recalls times when Michael, despite his busy schedule, would reach out to support friends or colleagues who were going through difficult times. Michael's empathy seemed limitless. He would notice when others were struggling, even if they tried to hide it, and he'd offer words of encouragement, a listening ear, or a quiet gesture of support. For Payne, these moments were a reminder that beneath the icon, Michael was just a man who wanted to be there for those he cared about. Yet, Payne also saw the toll this took on Michael. He gave so much of himself to others, often neglecting his own needs in the process. Payne suggests that Michael's generosity and compassion left him vulnerable, as he was constantly pouring out his energy to help others without receiving the same in return. This relentless giving nature, combined with the demands of his career and the public's expectations, left Michael emotionally drained and, at times, profoundly lonely. In these reflections, Payne paints a picture of a man who, despite his extraordinary life, was grounded in a sense of compassion and empathy that few could match. For Payne, these glimpses into Michael's humanity left an indelible mark on him, confirming that the Michael Jackson he knew was someone who carried a profound kindness in his heart, even when the world often overlooked it. In the end, Payne's memories of Michael are a tribute to the man he truly was, caring, generous, and endlessly compassionate, even in a world that often failed to show him the same grace. In reflecting on his memories and experiences with Michael Jackson, Carl Payne leaves us with a powerful realization about the legacy Michael truly left behind. Beyond the music, the performances, and the controversies, Michael's life was a testament to resilience, compassion, and an unyielding desire to connect with people on a deep level. For Payne, these were the qualities that defined Michael more than any headline or stage act ever could. He believes that if people could see the real Michael, the thoughtful, empathetic person who cared deeply about the world, they would understand that his legacy is about more than just his art. It's about the impact he made on those who truly knew him. Payne's revelations serve as a reminder that Michael Jackson's life was far more complex than the public ever realized. His achievements were extraordinary, but they came with struggles and sacrifices that few could comprehend. Payne hopes that by sharing his memories, people will gain a fuller picture of Michael, not just as an artist, but as a person whose heart was as grand as his talent. For Payne, Michael's legacy isn't just about his status as the King of Pop. It's about the kindness, love, and generosity he brought to everyone he encountered, qualities that sometimes went unseen amid the spotlight. Through Payne's eyes, we see a Michael Jackson who was both extraordinary and profoundly human. His ability to inspire and move people came not only from his performances, but from his genuine concern for others and his relentless hope for a better world. Payne leaves us with a question: how would the world remember Michael if they truly knew him as he did? In sharing his memories, Payne invites fans to look beyond the icon and see the man he knew, a man whose legacy is woven into the lives he touched, the kindness he showed, and the lasting impact of his compassion. As Payne closes this chapter of his reflections, he offers a final thought. Perhaps Michael's greatest legacy isn't just in his music or his fame, but in the way he made people feel and in the inspiration he left behind. And in that sense, Michael Michael Jackson's legacy will live on, not just through his work, but through the memories of those who truly knew him.